I'm going to take a second and show you guys how I'm laying out this axle. That is a 3,500 pound axle that I got from Redneck Trailers, and those are 1,750 pound leaf springs. That's 1,750, and together it comes up to 3,500. So this is 2-inch material. Now I'm not going to be using these pieces right here. These of course are scrap, so you can use those for something else, but the trailer is going to be 5x8. So if I put this exactly 5 foot there on the edge, I can't put it to center, and I've got this other piece over here. The tape measure is not going to want to cooperate. Alright, there we go. This piece is at 5, but just because you're building a 5x8 trailer doesn't mean that everything's just going to work out all perfect and everything. So I figured it would be easier to get the axle and build the frame around the axle than to build the frame and then try and make the axle fit it. I want to give you guys a little detail on how this is bolted together. These are 4-inch by 1/4-inch angle iron, and you see I have a bolt holding that on there, and I have some holes pre-drilled, and that's one end of it. And if you look over here, got the same thing, and I've got my square, so that's square. Of course that's going to pop out until I put a C-clamp in it. I've got a 2x2 by 1/4-inch piece of aluminum. What I need to do is C-clamp this down and drill that out there, and drill over here and get some 1/2-inch bolts in there, and that's gonna, I think, it's gonna make a substantial corner. I've got that C-clamped. All I need to do is take that drill right there and pop a couple holes here. Of course I'll bolt that, and then I'll have to drill the holes over here. Got that hole drilled, and I'm just going to put that in there like that, and I'm going to put a washer on that, and this is one of these locking type. I'll just put that on there like that. I screwed this down right here because I'm having to push on it and hold it. It was easier just to put this down here, and that way I could just push instead of having to push and pull that back. I got that corner down there all buttoned up. I'm going to work on this corner, and I'm trying to square it as I go with the square. I'm going to drill this side out right here and bolt that, and then we'll move to this side. And you see I have some rather crude but effective means of leveling it and straightening it. I got the trailer bottom up, rolled it over. I'm working on how to mount the leaf springs. I didn't feel comfortable mounting these parts right here to that aluminum. Now, if that aluminum were a lot thicker, then I might, bolt it on there. But I didn't feel it was strong enough to have that weight, on those portions, those sections right there. So what I did is I took a piece of 3 by 3 by 3/16 angle, and I welded a piece of flat. That's why it hangs over like that, and that kind of fits on there really tight. And you can see right there where the little crosses are, those are going to be my bolt holes. So I'm going to take that and take the shop press and drill those out on both of those. I need to tack weld this, and you want to make sure you don't weld this because it'll melt those little inserts right there. You might be able to do what my dad used to do and put a wet rag over stuff and keep it from burning up. That's another option too. But I've drawn the center of the channel right there. I've got a center line. That's the center. You can see this thing right here. Pull that off. You want to go 40% from the rear of the trailer and 60% from the front. That's where you want the center of the axle, and this trailer just happens to be 100 inches, so that makes it kind of simple. Got the mark right there at 40 from the back and 60 from the front, and I've got that line there, and that's my center. Like I said, I'm going to be using 4 1/2-inch bolts, grade 8, and I think that gives me a tensile strength of 85 or 86,000 pounds, and which translates into about 60% of that is the shear strength, which is about 51,000 pounds. So hopefully I won't be putting that kind of force on the trailer, especially just on one location there. Hopefully it'll distribute, you know, a little bit with the other side, but I want to do a little overkill on that because I don't want that stuff breaking off, and I definitely don't want to have happen right here. What we have here is a good example of, you know, the moment of inertia, a material failing, and also it sheared off. So hopefully that doesn't happen over there. Okay, well, let me get that stuff tack welded on, and let me get these things drilled out, because it's going to be a lot easier to drill the steel on my drill press than it is to put this thing on here and then try to hold it and drill it and get through that. So let me get that done. I got the brackets drilled out, as you can see right there on both sides. You can see that, and I've put some C-clamps on here, guys. If you don't put C-clamps on there and you drill one of these, it's going to pop up on the other end. And if you're wondering what that is, that's grease. It's a little unconventional, but I wanted to make sure that I can get these things back off. We'll be setting those spring holders, perches, whatever, up here, and I don't want to weld on top of that aluminum, because if you heat up aluminum this type, it weakens it. So we don't want to weaken it. That's why I bolted it. So okay, well, let me get the axle all put together, put it up here, make sure everything lines up, everything's straight, and then I'll tack it, and then this stuff is going to come off, and then I can weld it properly and then put it back on. And I'm going to go ahead and run the bolts down, 2 of them here and there, and that way it can all go back together like it was. Okay, I've got the axle on here. The axle. Okay, I've got the leaf spring mounted to the axle. I've got this these hangers, these U-bolt hangers right here. You can see it's pretty simple, self-explanatory. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on right here. It's kind of been made idiot-proof for us. And like I said, you can see that little nub right there. It just fits right in that hole like that. And there's 2 ways you can mount this plate. You can mount it like this, or you mount it like this. I recommend that you mount it like this. And then it's got that little hole right there. If it doesn't fit that way, you need to turn it the other way. Just stick a U-bolt up in there. Why things don't want to cooperate when the camera gets pulled out. There we go. Now it wants to cooperate. Alright, I need to get a wrench. Alright, let's put this one on right here. Real simple. Alright, I just need to get a wrench and tighten that up, and that axle is going to be good enough to set on these things right here, and we can mark where the shackles are going to perches. Alright, we get these tightened up. I'm not exactly sure what these are supposed to be torqued to. I'm sure someone can leave a comment. Alright. I got it all mocked up. I got my C-clamps on here. How did I center the axle over the center mark? Well, that is the center mark, and I centered it off of that, and we're at 40% from the back and 60 from the front. So what I did, guys, is I just put this square on this lip right here. You can see, and then what I did is I made a mark there, and then what I did, drop the square. As I did is I went on the other side here and put the square till it hit the axle, just like on the other side. It made a mark, and when those two marks are even, it's dead center over the center line. I did it. Alright, all I need to do is tack weld that, put a couple tack welds, and then I'm going to, of course, be removing this and welding these brackets on, and I don't want to disturb the aluminum. I got it tack welded. Now I need to take it all back apart and weld those things a little better. So, alright, well, let me take that off. Okay, I just got done welding this. This is where you want to pay special attention to. Need to clean that up a little bit, but overall I think the welds turned out pretty good. Get over here. So I think that's going to hold. Okay, all I need to do is bolt them things back over here and put the axle in, and then put the laterals in, and we're a whole lot closer than we were. I've unearthed a piece of, literally unearthed a piece of scrap 2x2 angle iron. This was removed off of some trailer some time ago, but I need a couple pieces of this because I need to weld it to that over there for the cross members. So I'm just going to tack weld it on, but I've got, instead of buying it, just, you know, going to use what I have on hand. So let me get this cut up. Well, that piece of scrap steel that had been laying out there for a couple years come in very handy. That's given me enough brackets right there, and I've got a little bit left over. The rest of that is just, I don't know, scrap it. Alright, I got one of the pieces just kind of just set in there. I need to make these brackets, and this is a piece that I messed up. It's one of the first pieces that I grabbed, and I drilled a hole there, and I drilled a hole there, and it's the wrong spot. What I'm going to do is I need to make a bunch of pieces that fit in here like this and like this, and it's going to be a lot easier to try and drill the holes over here on the drill press and trying to get a drill in there and drill them that way, which I may have to do that, but it's going to be a lot easier, like I said, to drill this out in the open, and it's going to be a lot easier to make a template. So, and that's what I've done here, and that's not going to work, but the way it's going to work is if I drill from the inside. Now you can mark each one of these like I did. I got a hole here, that's the mistake. Hole there, and that's a mistake. We're not going to be using that. But if I set this like that on my drill press and just pop those holes there, it's going to be a lot easier than measuring all those. And I've got those steel ones around here somewhere, and those have to be drilled as well. So let's get drilling. Well, it's starting to come together. I've got it C-clamped. See, I've got that bolted. What I need to do now is just drill from this side through here and get one started and then get the other side started. But those C-clamps work really nice for holding this stuff here. It's like having an extra set of hands. So everything is turning out very nicely. The only problem I'm going to have is when I get over here, I'm going to have to remove those steel things again, and I'm going to have to use that angle iron that I cut up, and I'll tack weld it, and that'll be another aluminum one over here. But okay, well, I just want to show you guys how I was doing this. Alright, again, I got those just tacked on. Same thing over here. I need to remove the steel off of here and I need to weld it. And then once these brackets are welded on here, then I can put these aluminum pieces and it'll be permanent. Well, it's really starting to come together. Got all the pieces in right there. Let's see how the welds turned out in there and over there. So we just need to put that axle on there and roll it over. Oh, I got to put the thing that makes the tongue on it. So, all right, well let's get that done. One thing I want to say is you need a really healthy arm to tighten these bolts up right here. This thing was straining. Guys, something else too is you leave this loose right here. If you tighten that up, and as long as everything is perfectly straight, then you'll be okay. But I never have been able to get everything perfectly straight. But once it's bolted here and bolted there and bolted in there, it's straight. Okay. So when I was initially doing it, I did tighten that up, but just a little word to the wise there. We'll go ahead and tighten these down. Try and do this one-handed. I got that piece on there just held on with my wood clamps, and of course it is upside down, and I've got that bolted. I've got where the nuts come out from the outside, and that's just some temporary stuff I've got on there. But in case they loosen up, I want to be able to monitor that, and it'll be a lot easier to see how tight it is or how loose it is with them on the outside. That I need to get the right bolt for that, but that's just on there for just a moment. What I did, guys, is I measured from here to here on my other trailer, and it's exactly 36 inches to the center of the ball of the hitch. I also squared this off over here, and I know it's upside down, but I measured that, and I measured it over here on this side, and it's the same. So I think it's pretty square. So all I need to do is just bolt it on there, put some tires on it, flip it over. Okay, so how did I square it up? Okay, well, I put a mark from there to there, which is 60 inches, 30 is the center. You can see those little marks right there. That's just a piece of EMT pipe that's pretty straight. I've got some more marks that are right there. I've got the center mark right there, and if you look, I just laid that pipe on there, and I've got it all centered. And I, of course, measured here and there, and then I went back and measured. It's 4 inches on that one and 4 inches on that one back there. So it is centered and it is square, and that's what we're looking for. Well, she's really come along. I've got everything bolted down one manner or another. I've left those little pieces there on the end. I don't know, I'll probably save that. I don't know about that, but that's the way it's turning out. I used every piece of that 2-inch angle that I bought, the aluminum stuff. I didn't have enough, so I cut one of these and turned that into a doubled up angle bracket right there, as you can see, on that side and on that side, just to give it a little more strength. And I didn't have to buy another piece of that stuff. That stuff is expensive. So this is a little brace I put in here. So all I need to do is turn this baby over and she's ready to tow, but I still need to put lights on it and put a deck on it. She's looking good. Get you guys a little look and see how it looks here from the top rather than the underside of it. I got up there and walked around on it. It's pretty solid. Okay, now comes time I need to put a deck on here. I can use some of that same material right there for the deck, or I could, put some 4x4 posts up there and make it, really heavy duty, but it is just a 5x8 trailer. And what I was thinking about doing was just use some of this 5/4 decking right here, pressure treated, and bolt it down. So I just need to get that, put that on there. Need to find the right size carriage bolt. Well, I got the deck mostly on. It's that center board. I had to trim that down right there. That still needs to be screwed on there. I didn't find a whole lot of information about screwing pressure treated wood to aluminum. They did say sometimes it will react with the aluminum. If it reacts, well, whoopee-doo. But I'm using these Tapcons. They're painted, and that should give some, I don't know, hopefully they won't back out. If they do back out, I've got some of these carriage bolts on here too, as you can see. Let's just take a look underneath here. Show you what I've done. As you can see, I've got the thread locker type with a lock nut on it. And that's what I've got there. And I put these, I could have done every one of them, but it would have been really expensive. But I've got 2 sets here, so the boards hopefully don't fly off of here. So, alright guys, I just want to show that to you. I got my safety chains on there. Got the trailer lights installed. But you can't have a completed trailer until you put fenders on it. So these actually worked out pretty nice. I'm just going to pull this off. Wish it didn't want to come off. Alright, there we go. And what I've done is I've just tack welded it to that piece of steel that I use a reinforcement for the axle. A couple tacks on that. It lined up perfectly on those bolts that I had there. It kind of held it to help hold it up there. But I'm going to put a couple bolts through here and there, and I'll probably put a spacer here. It's just barely on there. And then this one, you can see I need to install that. So okay, well, let's get those installed. Boy, that looks like a mess. Alright, got it primered, got it painted. Let's see if we can make it look a little better than that. Alright, well, it's completed. All I got to do is weigh it. Take it down and have it weighed, and then I can get a tag for it.